It really is the ultimate showdown in photography today, isn't it? On one side, you have the sheer convenience and just the mind-bending computational power of a smartphone. And on the other, the raw, beautiful optical quality of a professional camera. So we've got a flagship Xiaomi smartphone co-engineered with the legendary Leica, and then we have the real deal, a genuine, full-frame Leica Q3 camera. Let's see how this goes. But hey, before we get into all the specs and the nitty-gritty, let's just start with a little blind test. Take a good, hard look at these two photos. One's from the phone, the other's from that pricey Pro camera. Go ahead, pause if you need to, and lock in your guess. Got it? Okay, we'll tell you the answer later. First, let's unpack what makes these two so incredibly different. So, let's properly introduce our two fighters. First up, we've got the flagship Xiaomi smartphone. It was co-engineered with Leica, it's packing multiple lenses, and it has a ton of AI power under the hood. And in the other corner, the Leica Q3, a camera that costs thousands and thousands of dollars and really is the pinnacle of German optical engineering. And right here, this is the fundamental difference in how they work. The Xiaomi, it's all about sophisticated algorithms and multiple lenses to build its images. The Leica, on the other hand, it relies on one massive thing: a full-frame sensor that is 7.5 times larger than the smartphones. It is a classic battle of brains versus brawn. So, let's kick things off with our first test and see how this all plays out with portraits. I mean, this is where so much of the magic in photography happens, right? When you're capturing people. We're literally pitting the Leica's natural physical optics against the smartphone's powerful digital algorithms. Now, to really get this round, you've got to understand something called optical blur. This is that beautiful, creamy, out-of-focus background you see in professional photos. It's not software. It's created by pure physics. Just light passing through a big lens onto a big sensor. It's the gold standard that smartphones are constantly trying to imitate with their software. And this is exactly where we see the challenge for that software. The source material points out that the smartphone's AI, well, it can struggle. It sometimes clips the fine hairs around the subject's head. The Leica's result, though, created by pure optics, is described as noticeably more refined. Turns out, physics is pretty hard to beat, for now. But hold on, it's not a total win for the camera. While the Leica is the champ when it comes to that pure optical blur, the reviewer noticed something really surprising. When you zoom in super tight, the Xiaomi's processing was actually better. It avoided that aggressive artificial sharpening that the Leica's own digital zoom was applying. So, for this round, we're calling it a draw, 1 point to each. All right, on to round two. We're talking about the detailed duel, the power of zoom. We're going to test everything from super close-up macro shots to some pretty extreme telephoto zoom. This is where a smartphone's bag of tricks, with all its multiple lenses, should give it an edge. This timeline tells such a fascinating story. At the lower zoom levels, yeah, the Leica's superior sensor gives it a little bit of an edge. But as we start to push it further and further, the smartphone's computational power and its dedicated telephoto lens just take over. And once you get into that heavy digital zoom territory, the Xiaomi just flat out dominates. It cleans up the image, pulling out details the Leica simply cannot see. And honestly, this is the knockout punch. The source says that at a staggering 120 times zoom, you can still tell you're looking at a hair clip in the Xiaomi's photo. The Leica's photo at that same zoom? It's just a blob. The AI isn't just making the photo look better, it's making the illegible legible. That is seriously impressive. All right, let's move on to round three. So the smartphone wins on zoom, no question. But that Leica collaboration, it promises more than just technical skill. It promises a certain feel, right? That famous Leica look. So the real question is, does the Xiaomi actually deliver it? The short answer here is no, not really. The source material is super clear on this. Across the board, from the standard color profile to the high contrast black and white, the phone's images were just cooler, with way more contrast. The actual Leica camera? It produced more subdued, natural colors, and its black and white shots were described as having more vibrancy and depth. The look just isn't the same. And I mean, check this out. Some of the software features meant to replicate that Leica feel just fall flat. The M9 color mode, for example, was called a complete failure. Why? Because the white balance was locked, you couldn't change it, which makes it totally inflexible. It just goes to show you, having the name on the box doesn't guarantee a perfect experience. All right, let's bring it all home. We've seen some incredible zoom from the phone and just beautiful optics from the camera. We've talked about software glitches and that kind of hard to define Leica soul. It is time for the final verdict. And we have to start with the price. I mean, we just have to. For the cost of one Leica Q3, you could buy this Xiaomi smartphone 4 times over and still have money left. That single fact, it changes the entire conversation. So the takeaway here is pretty clear. The Xiaomi offers incredible versatility. You get that amazing zoom, video stabilization, macro flexibility, all for a fraction of the price. The Leica, it delivers unmatched optical quality, a beautiful build, and that intangible soul, but it comes at an extreme price and it's got less flexibility. So, after all is said and done, what was the final choice from the source? You might be surprised. It was the smartphone. Even after acknowledging the camera's superior optics and its soul, the reviewer concluded that for their personal use, the Xiaomi's sheer versatility and incredible value made it the winner. And that really leaves us with this final, massive question to think about. This whole comparison, it wasn't just about 2 gadgets. It's about 2 completely different philosophies. As AI gets better and better, what do we actually value more in the images we create? Is it the flawless, computationally perfect image from an algorithm? Or is it the beautifully imperfect image that has a kind of creative soul to it? The answer to that? Well, it might just define the entire future of photography.